First off, just know you're going to get hit.
Awareness of where you have the leak and then what needs to be remedied to bring that whole system stronger forward.
One of the things that I actually always embrace is the fear.
And so finally I realized, like, if I only focus on the end instead of the input, I'm in big trouble.
All it means is that I really care about the result that's going to be delivered.
Hey friends, thank you for joining me today. I get to do a live podcast, which you know are my favorite. My friend Mark Anthony flew in from New York so that we could record this live for you today. So welcome, Mark.
Jen, great to see you again. Always a blast.
I know, I love it when you come to visit me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so fun because we always get to go to fancy restaurants when Mark comes into town.
Looking forward to treating you a little later.
I know. My favorite restaurant, River Horse. We get to go there tonight, which is one of the best restaurants in Park City. Mark remembers everything, and I'm super excited to do that tonight.
So looking forward to it. And thanks for having me today, too.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So Mark recently published a book. It's called Join the 7-Figure Club. All of us, if we're not there, we desire to be there. I'm quite confident. And this book is filled with tools and different things to grow your sales and business.
Absolutely. It really was a work of a lifetime, really. I've worked with entrepreneurs for years. I've been an entrepreneur. And to really help people break through that ceiling, it's so hard. 9 out of 10 never are able to hit that level. And to be able to really put each of the pillars in place and really give them a way to guide them to that. Really, I look at it as a privilege, not just a book, but really a privilege to do that for people.
Yeah, I know. And you wrote a book, which we all know because I've been complaining about it, that it takes so much time and effort to organize your thoughts and then to get everything executed. And when we were talking earlier, I mean, this is 20 years in the making. And you said, I'm done. I'm done having this on my goal list. It's going to be on my done list. And so you finally got it done, which it evolves and changes and all those things. So tell us a little bit about the process that you went through that allowed you to give us this gem today.
Well, I'd spoken about it for ages, and that is not a way to make a goal, just to be quite clear. And all of a sudden, the real difference was I was actually in Italy, took my parents there, and they're going at a different pace than I am. So when they're doing siesta, I just said, that was a goal to be able to do that for them. Let me just go after this goal. And I just opened up my laptop, created the outline, and started making it happen. But to really take on any goal, any big thing you want to do, it really is step by step. And all I did was I committed to twice a day going for 25 minutes, just letting it loose. And all of a sudden, 25 minutes, it turned into an hour. And the momentum, once it was there, you're on your way.
You're on your way. And so did you write this only on your vacation, or did you have some of the thoughts formulated and then you finalized them on vacation? You weren't in Italy that long. Come on now.
The ideas were there for years, in terms of, marketing and sales and negotiation. And then I just started outlining it. And once I had the outline, everything just came together. And really all it was things that every entrepreneur needs to do to make hitting 7 figures possible, both in terms of sales or in terms of income. And I just let my hands and my fingers do it. And it really just came right from the heart. That's the best way to go after any goal, is not by just the result, but really embracing the journey. And I just jumped into it, which is what I always encourage people to do.
Yeah, no, you are good about that. You're like, oh, Mark's one of these guys where you can say, hey, I want to, and you don't even get to what you want to go do. And he's a yes. He's a yes. And you're like, okay, well, let me tell you what you just said yes to, my friend, because on our way here, I'm like, we're going to go to Everest Base Camp next spring. I think you want to come. And I didn't even get that out. And he had already said he's coming. So I absolutely love it.
May or April.
May. We're still trying to figure it out. But yes, one of those dates. Okay, so I love that pillar 1 is mindset. Because for me in all of my pursuits, that's been, I can visualize what I want to do. And then the first thing I need to do is like, where am I at mentally to make this happen? So talk to us a little bit about that chapter, some lessons and different things.
Okay. So everything in life boils down to mindset. You want to be a great student, it's mindset. You want to start a business, mindset. One of the biggest tips I talk about there, you do not want to be self-employed. And that's the biggest mistake that every entrepreneur that's struggling says, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm self-employed. And I used to say that with such pride. Now that's like a bad word. No, you are a business owner. You are a business owner that's scaling to the next level. That's not just words, that becomes mindset. And then you start building your frameworks, your goals to achieve that. Very different. So if you have the mindset of you're being a small business person, you're self-employed, you're putting yourself in a limiting box. You need to see yourself as a growing, thriving business person. It's a total game changer right as step one.
Yeah. And being a business owner, an entrepreneur, a founder, whatever, if you purchase one and taking it over, there's so many things that can knock you down, right? There's so many struggles that come at every different angle. So, what is something that you recommend people to do to keep that strong mindset that allows them to forge forward?
First off, just know you're going to get hit. I
Yeah.
mean, like, you're in a boxing gym, you're going to get hit, right? And like there's that cliche of like, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can take the hit. And you're going to get them. You're going to be flying upwards at all different levels. And it's going to happen again and again. And it's going to actually set you up for, the next plateau. One of the things that I actually always embrace is the fear.
Okay.
I get nervous at a lot of things that I do.
Really?
People are surprised by that.
Yeah.
And, I'd get nervous when I speak on stage. I'd get nervous when I'd even have a one-on-one client. And I saw a client the other day and he was shocked by that. I said, all it means is that I really care about the result that's going to be delivered. And once I shifted that to saying, if I'm not nervous, that's when I want to be worried. And so every time I get nervous, I'm like, that means I'm showing up to be at my best. As a business owner, you're going to get hit. You're going to get nervous. You're going to get scared by that. Embrace the fear and you're going to win.
Okay. And what do you feel? So, for me to keep my mindset strong, I have different people on speed dial. And when I have different problems, and I call those people to kind of bring me back to center. Do you recommend that for others, or what tools do people use when, because it's lonely. It's lonely being a business owner. There's not always somebody to go to for resources or help or things like that. I know you coach people and play that role for others. Do you see a big difference between 6 and 7 figure business owners? Like, does a 7-figure business owner always have a coach, and maybe only sometimes 6-figure people do? Or
Yes, obviously, the higher your income goes, the easier it is to get coaching, of course.
mm-hmm,
The bigger, the better players all have coaches.
mm-hmm.
And, when you go to your 7-figure entrepreneurs, they have diet coaches, they have, training coaches for fitness, they have mindset coaches. But the way I would tell people is notice who you have around you. What I mean by that is really notice the circle of 5. It might not be a coach, but who are the 4 or 5 people that you go to? And if those are people who are struggling, they're going to give you an insight that helps you justify why you're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So you really want to notice, how can you create a network of 5, 6, 8 people around you that are all soaring higher, and they're all going to help you find a solution instead of being stuck on a problem. So you absolutely positively need to have a solid group of advisors. And, in Think and Grow Rich, one of my favorite books,
Mm-hmm.
they talk about a mastermind, and you want to create your experts around you. It's a must.
It's a must. I agree. I mean, I'm just this single person that's doing speaking events right now, and I have people helping with social media. There's so many angles that if I can delegate some of these people, or know like, hey, you're doing your specialty, that keeps the energy and my focused on what I can do best. And that helps me keep a strong mindset.
Yeah. And your mindset is amazing. And by the way, shout out for your accomplishments on,
Thank you.
the second summits and being that first one. But I always knew you were going to do that. And obviously I'm giving you a compliment, but I always told you I knew you were going to do it, because I could look you in the eye and there was never a doubt that in your heart and in your mind it was going to happen. It's just a matter of how fast it was going to happen, which I knew was going to be pretty quick too.
Yeah. Well, luckily the weather cooperated this last time. Thank God. But it's funny because, okay, so mindset's so important. Mindset is so important in every pursuit we do, whatever mountain we climb, whatever pursuit we take on, but particularly if you're a business owner, because there's so many more things that can poke holes at what you're doing. So I love that you start the pillar there and go from there. And then your next one is accountability, which is so Like perfect for me from the standpoint of I just got back from this climb. I put together a 40-day challenge for myself, right? But I know myself that if I don't have the accountability of a group, I'm like, oh, I can skip tomorrow. Oh, I can do
Yep.
whatever. Like, so even though I put together these exercises that I know I need to do to help me just come back to center and decide what my next thing is, the accountability thing, I'm offering it to others so that I have that accountability piece.
Mhm.
What does accountability look like for most business owners?
Okay. Well, for most business owners, accountability looks like excuses.
Ah,
So, like, they're really not accountable. And I'm not disrespecting, we're all working so hard, but they could let the challenge start to overwhelm them or help them rationalize. It's the economy, it's my team, it's something. So, what I have everybody I work with, and it's a must, is create what I call an accountability dashboard. So, an
okay.
accountability dashboard is getting people to notice what drives their success. Most people want to be accountable to the results. What are their sales numbers? What are the number of leads coming in? What's the number of podcasts that they got on? That is a result. But every result is based on drivers. How many podcasts did you reach out to? How many sales appointments did you go on? How many prospects did you call? How many proposals? If you watch and track the drivers, then the results follow. I can run a business without even looking at the results. If the business owner clearly helped me put in place their drivers and the tracking of those, the drivers, the training that's going into where you need to go, you're going to get there. It's not about results. It's always about drivers. And then we did something actually with my team.
Okay.
We had a wall that was about 8 feet by 10 feet tall. Every staff person knew their result, and we had a graph, a physical graph, old fashioned. You had to take a marker and use it. And then underneath it were other graphs of all the things that helped you move that needle forward. And at the end of the week, everybody had to go and put it on the board, connect the dots of did they do what's needed? So I wasn't holding them accountable. They began holding themselves accountable. And if all of a sudden their numbers were flat or down, they knew they needed assisting. They knew they needed mentoring, or they knew they weren't really playing the way they needed to play. And that cleaned up a lot of conversations really fast. Everyone needs an accountability dashboard put in place.
Oh, I know. Okay, so I worked at a company in sales back when you had to cold call to get business, right? I don't even think you're allowed to cold call anymore, but we would smile and dial. And in the beginning, if I landed an account, I'd be like, okay, or like a meeting, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I got my meeting for the day. Well, then there'd be days that I wouldn't have any. And so finally I realized like if I only focus on the end instead of the input, I'm in big trouble. So then I changed my driver, which I didn't even use the language then, but I get it, where I had to make 200 dials. If
Mhm.
I made 200 dials, then I'd be successful. But if I got a client like meeting, then I didn't get enough dials in to have enough failures to kind of work the failures out of the
Yep.
system, I guess is how I would say it. But yeah, no, it is making sure you're measuring the right thing.
We actually use that. So one of the stories I actually talk about in the book is how we would have the people, instead of counting the dials, because that they all hated doing.
I know. I
Uh,
did too. I had a little checklist that I would just mark them off. I'd be like, whatever.
But if they could make $1,000 a day, they were very excited.
Yeah.
So if you needed to make 200 phone calls, what I had them do was write down 5, 10. I made every phone call, no matter what happened, worth $5. So
Uh,
then if they got a great result, it wasn't based on a sale. It was based on come midday, they made 100 calls. Great, you're at $500. If they only made 80, they're like, wait, I want more money. They made another 20 phone calls to get that extra amount. And sometimes it was $100 a call. Other times it was $5 a call, depending on what you were selling and what they were doing. But again, you get focused on what gets you to where you want to go. And it was just a way of breaking it down and making people understand that they're making progress all the time.
no, that is a great way to show that you're making progress all the time. Because when I was just checking off the boxes, you checked off number one, number two, number three. But if you start assigning those dollar amounts, it's a lot more exciting. And that energy probably comes into your next call and helps make everything flow that much better.
You reminded me of something. I was talking to someone just the other day, and the numbers are always there, is what I told them. See, whether it's 80 dials or 180 dials, whether it's that your sales numbers up here or your sales numbers down there and the actions to get there, the numbers are always there. The thing is, sometimes people don't want to look at the numbers. So the whole idea of the tracking is that you're actually seeing it. I don't want to track the numbers this week or this month. Oh, we did that last month. Let's do something new. The numbers don't go away.
And they don't lie. That's the problem with numbers.
Wisdom there.
Yeah. They hold you very accountable in all things. Okay, so someone has a business. What do you see in the six-figure category that's typically their area that they're struggling most?
That's a trick question.
Okay.
Okay. Because there's a number of different pillars that I'll refer to. There's the mindset, of course, which is key. And then there's the tracking. You clearly need sales. You clearly need usually marketing to drive it. But you need to take care of the customer service. Then you need to be learning and negotiating. And for, again, keeping it to not getting just to the bigger and bigger scalability. But those pieces all need to be focused on. If you're good at sales and you want to really grow to the next level, you need some marketing. If you got great marketing coming in and you're not good at sales, you're not going to convert enough of the leads. If you got both of those happening, your business is taking off. What's the secret sauce? The secret sauce is customer service, right? The customer service gives you the referrals. It gives you the people coming back. It makes your average order value go up. So it's not just one thing. It's really noticing. Maybe the one thing is notice what you're really good at. Keep getting better at that. But then be honest about what you're not as good at and figure out a way to shore that up and make that a solid pillar of your business too. So that would be the
awareness, right? So the big thing here that you take away is if you have a six-figure business, you want to get to seven figures, awareness of where you have the leak and then what needs to be remedied to bring that whole system stronger forward. Would you say most businesses to get to that seven-figure mark need to have scalability features to them?
Yes, to get to this and to get your life back, okay? Not just to have a work 80 hours a week. That's not the game plan that any of us went into business for. It's like, wow, I'm going to build a business and no longer have a life, right?
Right.
So to create scalability, that comes right down to processes. So everything, it's a recipe book. Everything that you do that you're so important to do, someone else has done it and can also do it. But you need to document it and stop being so self-important that you're the one that needs to be doing the sales call, the presentation, whatever it might be. Scalability isn't going to just get you to seven figures and also eight figures, by the way. It's going to set you free. It's going to allow you to take off for months at a time. It's going to allow you to go off on life adventures, not just be the best person at your business.
Right. Right. A lot of us get stuck working in the business instead of on the business. I know I was a victim of that for a long, long time. And it's hard. It's hard to give up certain roles and just understand that maybe they're going to do it a little bit different, and different isn't bad, but it just is uncomfortable. I remember being there and thinking, oh, I don't want to give up that. I'll give up this, but I don't want to give up that. But you have to give up that to continue to grow.
You know, one of my favorite sayings that I had learned from someone was stated so eloquently. They hired themselves out of a job. And that was absolute genius. You know, have that be one of your goals, to hire yourself out of a job.
And if you're a one-man band, what's the first role that you recommend somebody bringing on in-house?
I actually put out a process in there to actually answer that question because it could differ. So let's look at the process. So actually track all of where your time is going to. See, when you're working on the business, when you're stuck in that, you could say that you're worth $1,000 an hour. Fact is, when you're working on a $20 an hour task, you're worth $20, okay? So when you recognize that, start listing all the things that you're doing and how much time goes to each of them. Look at that list and notice which things are $1,000 activities and which things are $20 an hour activities. And once you see a bunch of the $20 an hour activities, get someone else to start working on those So you're working on 100, 200, $500 an hour activities. And every business has them. Even if you're small, you have big value actions and the stuff that just gets you busy. So the formula is track where your time's going, notice where the time is not that valuable for you, and get someone in place. But there is something else you need to do. Once you put someone in place to do that $20 hour task, let's just say there's 10 of them, you now gain 10 hours back. You need to put your 10 hours that you just got back into the high dollar activities. If you don't, you're not going to be scaling your profitability.
Right. Profitability is a big piece. Now, I like this time audit thing. Okay. We're going to spend a second on this because I was introduced to the concept. I did it at home for my personal calendar because I wanted to I said I'm mom first, business second. And I had to look at my calendar to see if my calendar was saying that, right? Because you can say something, your actions show something different. So then I started looking at my calendar and I realized, okay, some things need to shift if I'm truly living this mom first, business second concept. And I noticed like I spend time at home organizing drawers, right? Like we have a junk drawer and it drives me nuts. We have a junk drawer, right? So I'm organizing the drawers. And even doing that activity of the time audit, I was like, oh, wait a minute. One of my kids would organize this drawer for $1 and be on cloud 9. Why am I spending time here? And so it not only gives you this like permission of, okay, here's things that need to be delegated out and I should be focusing on other activities. They don't always, in a business, they should be revenue generating, but at home, they should be time involved with your family. And then figuring out, okay, now I don't even do the time audit anymore, but because there are certain things that showed up that I like to spend my time on that are not really what I should be spending my time on, allows me, now it triggers me. If I'm in the junk drawer, I'm triggered to say, oh, this isn't a task for me. I need to get back in my lane. This isn't a task for me. I need to get back in my lane. So I love that you bring that up because I think we can use that not only at home, not only in the business,
it's important
but at
to
home.
recognize you should be doing the things that are valuable to do, but also that you want to do, right?
Yes.
If you love, mowing the lawn and it's your therapy time to yourself, well, wonderful, recognize it as that. But you could reach a stage in your business and your life where you really can't, you make a lot of money, you can actually not afford to mow your own lawn because you're so busy. What you need to be doing is, going to your kid's recital, to the football game, spending time connecting with your friends and your family, whatever it is, you need to be conscious about what you're doing and not just get sucked into like mopping the floor and dusting because you think it needs to get done. No, you got to become the master of defining what truly needs to get done. It's usually not dusting and mopping.
Yeah, true. That's an easy thing to hire out for sure. Okay, so there was also a section in here on negotiating. So talk to me about that section.
Oh, I love negotiating. I've had the opportunity to literally do negotiating training on 6 different continents. It's actually one of the things that really allowed me to be able to go all around the world. People get nervous when it comes to negotiating. They think it's really hard. There's a lot of different strategies and tactics, but let's boil it down to one to be really successful. That one thing is stop thinking about what you want and do everything, all your negotiation planning from how to get the deal done from the other side of the table, from your opposer, your opponent's side of you. When you're thinking about what they want to have happen and what they would need to make this a good deal, if you could work for their needs while not working against your own, of course, if you can make that happen, they're really thrilled to move forward. But when you're like, oh, they want to take this, this, and this, and you start arguing about what they're asking for, it becomes a complicated negotiation and can unravel. Keep working for what the other side came to the table to work with you about and just work for their needs. Be on their side and you can make some really big deals happen.
And when you're negotiating and you're presenting a deal or you're presented a deal, do you always recommend going back, or is there times where you said, oh, this is so far out of field, we're not even touching it?
Well, on the other side, you have a dream deal, right? So actually, I call it a dream deal scale. You have your dream deal, your realistic deal, your it's acceptable and there's time to walk. Well, if you map all that out in advance, and there's lots of things we talk about in that chapter about how to plan out the negotiation for that. But if you were doing it from the other side's point of view and you thought about what their dream deal was and what they thought was the time to walk, you will see that everything that you thought was best was their worst and vice versa. So what happens is you realize they really have some room to move up.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to get both sides into the deal that's realistic. And then how can you justify your side and still justify letting them get what they want to get? But it's not about ego. It's about making the deal work for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it only happens if it works for them too. And people get caught up in the ego all the time, and then it becomes a fight. And then they're like, oh, you wanted that. And then it's pushing match, and then it unravels.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I always struggle. I feel like I undersell myself more than oversell just because I get so passionate about what I'm doing that I'm like, I just want to do this. Like, I'm just so happy to be doing it. So it's interesting to have that balance of, okay, here's what I should be charging, even though like my emotional state might tell me something different.
And that becomes an issue of where are you in your life, right?
Right.
There's a time when you need to get certain prices because you got to keep the lights on. You got to feed the machine, feed the team. And that's very true. Sometimes I'll also, not take a deal that's in my best interest if it fits my best interest in a different area of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were talking about this before where, I had an opportunity to do something for a bunch of small business people that were they were just getting out of the gate. So they really had no money. But I really felt the win. Where I was being paid was in how I was contributing. So I was thrilled to do the deal with them, different than, a different corporate objective. So you get to different stages in life and you got to define where your wins are on multiple levels. And if you're only chasing money, you're going to probably feel a little empty is what I've found in so many people that I've coached and in my own life. The people who are the most filled they're hitting it on the financial because that does supply a lot of needs.
Mm-hmm.
They're also doing a lot to contribute on a lot of different levels. And they're making sure that their life is really well-rounded. They're hitting their goals in multiple facets.
Mm-hmm. Now, how have you been able to balance writing a book, growing your speaking and coaching career, and then still being able to take magical vacations with your family and doing cool little retreats yourself?
There's a bunch of different tools that are important.
Okay.
But one of the things we talk about is processes. And so you need to be able to have a team that allows you to be free to do certain things. So you're not busy doing the minute little detail things. You have a team in place to take care of that so that you can be working in your business, working on the projects that you want, and that you're doing things by choice rather than being sucked into what you don't want to do. So that was a huge shift to be able to do that. The other thing that for me made a difference was I was clear on what was worth a fortune to me.
Okay.
Fortune to me was time to be able to, take my parents abroad. A fortune to me would be, going off to Everest and being free to do that. A fortune to me would be putting time into volunteering and working with some different organizations. All of those are super valuable. It's not just about I'm more lit up by those things than the fanciest sports cars, yet I do like driving fast and taking, some nice cars out on a track. But it's not about the car. It's about the contribution. So the point there is define what you see is wealthy and important. And if you truly know what those priorities are, you could set yourself to start putting your time into those. And then you will find a way.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think if you start with intention and then you work towards those intentions, then you start creating the life that you desire. So many of us just get stuck in the momentum of whatever we're doing. And before long, all of a sudden we're on a path that we're like, did we even select this? Is this even where we want to go? And so really doing regular check-ins is something I found valuable for myself, just making sure, okay, am I building towards the thing that I want it to become? I actually had a call the other day with somebody, they said, okay, well, what's your plan in 10 years with this? What do you want to do in 10 years? I'm like, oh, I don't know. He's like, I would start looking at that before you put too much money behind some of these campaigns because some of these are longer term payoffs. And that call was really valuable because it caused me to stop and just check in with myself and say, okay, whatever I'm building is going to be successful. Am I building something that I want to build? And is the end result going to put me where I want to be?
Yeah. And, we've built successful businesses. So,
Mm-hmm.
We definitely encourage people to be able to scale. And, you can go to 7 figures, you can go to 8 figures and 9, or, there's lots of different levels that can go always forward. But you want to just recognize what is important for you. One person can be so happy, being at their bakery and just greeting everybody. And it's just so lit up by what they get, the fulfillment of how happy everybody is walking into their store. Somebody else wants to have a processing plant. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. You just need to figure out how to make it work on your terms. The way I phrase it is live life on your terms. And some of the people that I've coached, I've had to get them off of other people's terms of going higher and higher, because what was happening was they would go with clients to get courtside seats or 50-yard line seats for a pro game. They never saw their own kids play a game because they were going off to do that. So there might be one time when you need to do that, but then start to recognize what are the other things you want? What are your other goals? And that allows you to get your life back. If you don't have your compass set, as I said previously, you can go in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. Very easily, because momentum carries you in different things, or whatever screams louder seems to be the one that you focus on, and that might not be where you should be focusing. So when you go in and meet with clients and do coaching to their staff, what are typical things that people hire you for? What kind of problems are you helping them solve?
The highest percentage of why people bring you in is, in my case, for sales. Make our sales go up, and then make our sales go up.
Okay.
But once I'm in there, we start looking at, it's not just about how hard you sell. Let's actually track the effort, right? Which comes right back to one of those early steps of let's get clear on get the clarity on the mindset of you and the entire team. Let's then track everything. Then we can work on the sales. But we also can start to improve sales just by improving customer service. But people always justify what they want first and foremost with sales, most commonly. But it comes in a lot of different ways. And so that brings me to having your people get this wildly big goal, right? Like your team doesn't get lit up by sales. But if you have a big vision, something that really excites what everyone's going after, both individually and as a company, that they want to push on, that they want to put in the effort, that they want to high five each other about, that's so much more exciting than just sales. And you get them excited. You as the leader, put that type of vision in place for your people. And then they are breaking down doors and knocking on doors to make the sales happen.
And what have you seen sales shift with the internet and with like laws changing and different things like that, on where the people are focusing or how they're getting their sales done?
Absolutely. I have, I had a telemarketing agency, I had a digital ad agency. I've had, in one of my businesses, we've taken off with Amazon. So there's lots of different ways to use all the tools. The real lesson there is you need to be evolving, right? There's always, back in the day, if you were a master at telemarketing, you were way better than the guys who, went door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman, just joking in terms of back in the old movie day, the black and whites. But now, there's LinkedIn, there's Amazon, there's just building a great website, there's how you use the different ad platforms. You need to be evolving. All that said, a lot of deals get done with people. People do want to buy from other people, and you should really look at, not everybody has an online business. It could be a component, but you should be able to have people talk to people. And if you have people talk to them and focus on the value, then sales flow. Sales is not a bad thing. Sales makes every business happen. And if you give good value, people want to buy. Buying's fun.
No, I've noticed just the more I've gotten involved and out in the community and just doing my life is the more sales that I've had come in. If I only focused on any of these platforms or email marketing or all those different things, like they work, but nothing seems to work. Like, hey, there's this charity event going on. We have 300 people coming. Can you be one of those people to participate? And you just meet different people in different webs of life and it intersects. And that's where I've had probably my most success, to be honest with you, which is interesting because I feel like it was like that back in the day. And then I felt like it kind of went away. And I do feel like it's coming back a little bit. I don't know if you're seeing that.
Well, that leads to I'm glad you said that, because that's such a great tip, actually, for the smaller business person. One of the best ways for a small business person, say we're calling someone who is into six figures or maybe not even six figures yet, and they think, oh, I need to spend all this money on a website. I got to spend all this money on a certain platform's ads. You don't. That's risky. You might spend a lot of money and use up everything that you have. You're personable. You believe in what you're offering. Go to a networking function. Go to a charity event. Go to community events. Meet people. Talk to them. Look them in the eye. And then they'll become your client. And once you get a bunch of clients like that, and you have a foundation in place, now maybe we could spend our money on these other tools. But it came right down to really what you were saying is, don't be afraid to talk to people.
Yeah.
You got to be in front of them.
ABC, always be closing.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about like younger Mark. Okay, how you were in sales from a young age, from your book, your intro. So tell us about your sales career or your evolution of business.
Okay, well, if you ask my mom, you'll get some different answers. So I'll give a shout out to Mom and point out that she'd say other kids would have lemonade stands up on a hot summer day on the block, selling their lemonade for 10 cents. I'd set up a lemonade stand. I'd put it up for a quarter. So I'm selling more than twice as much in terms of price. And I'm selling 4 times as much lemonade. Because what did I do differently? I put my lemonade stand on the corner. I got traffic from both directions. And the people saw me before the other kids up the block. So Mom just sort of laughed. She said, you were always selling. But my real true first business was selling advertising for sports teams, college sports teams across the country. And I had licensing agreements. Before I knew what a licensing agreement was, I'd call up, a school out in California and say, I could put up billboards for you. I could do magazines for you. I'll present it to you for free. Just let me sell the ads. And once they said yes, I sold so much ads that all the production costs got covered. And I had schools from coast to coast. And I started that at 19. By the time I was in my 20s, my mid-20s, I was literally coast to coast, had a team of people selling the ads for me. And in that business, it wasn't my biggest business, but I really learned the foundation of what you need to do to start to scale. And so, but there were raffle ticket stories and, the lemonade stories. But that college sports publishing business really was such a great life event experience for me.
And then did you sell it?
I actually wound up selling it.
Okay.
It wasn't a big sale.
That's all
but
right.
In the process, it set me free to do one of the things which I love doing, which was being able to get into start coaching and training people. Because I had built up a team of about 10, 12 sales reps back then.
Okay.
And so I knew how to build a sales team. I knew how to manage them. And the best part of my day was managing them. The most boring part of my day was doing sports magazine stuff.
Oh, how funny.
So I started following my passions.
Okay. So then, how do you select a business that you're going to invest in or get involved in?
People look at the numbers and like, oh, I can make money here. And they'll hear what their friends are doing and how much money their friends are making in something. And I often say that's possibly a mistake. If you love what your friends are doing, you think their business is totally cool, you might want to get involved in it. I'm working with a young guy. His business is really taking off. He flips sneakers.
Oh, right.
And, you have a bunch of kids and they probably really like, the hottest shoes and the hard to get ones, but he loves sneakers. Then he teamed up with another friend, and he knew some of the different, what I'll call the operations manager aspects of things. And they've leveraged each other. And now they have over 1,000 members that are looking to get their hot deal tips on how to flip sneakers, and they have a subscription business, which is phenomenal. But he followed his passion about trading and flipping sneakers and also helping other people do it, turn into a business. I know other people who get involved in an area that they really don't love. And then when they hit the challenges, which you said earlier are going to happen, it's way harder to overcome challenges when you don't even like the business.
The longer I've been in business, the more I realize so many businesses work. I was on a phone call the other day with a guy who is a violin teacher. And so he built a course on YouTube to teach you the common mistakes that you make learning how to play the violin, and the different things all the things how to tune, all the things I don't know about violin because I don't play it or whatever. So they're anything can be turned into a business or a course or a subscription or whatever. If you have knowledge, you can pass it on. And it's just been fascinating because I feel like before, when I was growing up, you had more traditional careers, right? You would go to school to be a doctor or a attorney or different things like that. And nowadays, everything's a business. It's fascinating.
You look around and you can't believe how many businesses there are, and there's a business to everything. Some of you probably have a bottle near you with bottle cap on it. I did a training for a company that made the machines to make the bottle caps. They weren't just the company, it wasn't just bottle caps. There's a company that makes the machine for that.
Right.
There's a business in everything. And if you're going to put in the hours, it becomes your baby. Mm-hmm. You might as well have a baby that you like.
Yeah. Especially when you get to control a lot more in a business than an actual baby. As a mom of 7, they all came out hardwired certain ways. I'm letting you know. I'm not taking responsibility for all these personality traits that keep showing up.
So true.
So true. Okay, so what type of business is your ideal client? So people listening in today, so they can say, oh, Mark might be a good resource for me.
Okay. A small business owner that wants to go to the next level. So that's someone who is already doing ideally 6 figures. Mm-hmm. And they're they know they have it figured out in terms of liking what they're doing and know they have a good widget that they're putting out there, whether it's service or actual tangible product, and they want to break through to the next level. That's one niche. Avatar niche that would be really good. The other, and I love working with the business owners that are in 7 figures and they want to go to the higher 7 figures or to the 8. And, and thankfully I've done that for myself. So I'm not just talking it. There's so many coaches and trainers who talk it. I have built, in 8-figure business. So yes. I want to make sure that, that's understood. And I say that with a lot of pride. That's not a brag. It's pride. And what I'm most proud of, though, isn't that. It's that I have a life while doing it. So I want to take that business owner who's hitting 7, going even higher, and making sure that they have life on their terms in terms of hobbies and free time, and that they've actually really built a business. And if they're going down or have been in that trap of having a job or being the most valuable, most overworked person in their company, I start cutting those strings and set them free from that while keeping the profitability there. And a person who's in that spot, that's
your sweet spot.
It's a sweet spot.
I love it. I love it. Don't you love working in your sweet spot? I try to work in my sweet spot as much as I can.
I really am at play when I'm working, when I'm coaching people, when I'm training. I really am at play. And that's something I really want to see other businesses have. It's you should be making money, having fun, and having the time to really do what you want. When you have that, you have a real sweet spot life.
Yeah. Do you have any businesses that haven't worked out?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why I'm so passionate about what I say here. I was doing masterminds before people
Before it was cool?
Before it's the cool rage. I was running 8 masterminds simultaneously. It was great. I was loving it. And one of the people had a small business lending license. And he's like, oh, with your skills, we can blow up this finance business. And look at how much money we're going to make. I stopped doing the masterminds.
Oh, no.
And chased being able to do all this funding.
Okay.
And I'll spare all the bumps and bruises in there. But I stopped doing what I truly loved in terms of true service. And I chased the money.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you just chase the money, you get kicked in the head. I've gotten kicked in the head each time I've only chased the money. I've chased passion and money, and that's worked out nicely. But I've gotten, the finance business was probably the one where I took the biggest hit. There were some others, and we do try to block them out.
Yeah. But I mean, it's through the failures that we often grow our passion, right? Like, oh, I don't want somebody else to have this experience, or I'm never going to go through this again. So what can I do that pivots or causes this to not happen? And then you have that knowledge to help others and pass it on. So
yeah. And my dad, by the way, called out the guy. And I was like, oh, look, this is all the licensing he has. And my dad could sense it with this guy.
really,
And I'm like, no. And I chased that path. And he's like, well, you're going to do what you're going to do. And you know what, how kids can be that way.
yeah,
And so, some of the lessons in there are, of course, be passionate about what you're truly passionate about. Deliver the value where you're best able to do that. And vet the people that you're going into business with. And before possibly becoming partners, do some other smaller deals together. Because when you see the way people play in certain areas, you know what? They play that same way in others. And the way you are in one area of life is the way you are in every area of life.
I agree.
You would appreciate this. And some people commented like, oh, it was annoying them. I was on Kilimanjaro and I'm coming down and there's so much litter. And so I kept grabbing the garbage bags and picking up a bunch of the litter that was left by other people, picking up bottles and caps and things like that. And other people weren't. Not that they needed to do that, but they were like, oh, come on, like speed it up or whatever. And I was like, no, I wanted to leave it not even as good as I came there, but even better. And I use it as a metaphor because there's a lot of things I do that in. And look around at people and how they're doing that. It's actually a way to help people hire people. When you want to hire someone, especially for salespeople, I ask them to tell me about what they did that was non-sales related, that influenced people. Give me how you influenced people, how you got people to do what you wanted when you were in high school, before you ever had a job. How did you do it when you were, the middle kid in your family? How did you get all the siblings to follow you? And when they give me really good stories like that, like the lemonade story, those are the people that I hire every time, even if they have zero sales experience, because they actually show up in their life being able to influence.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hire personality more than skill set because I feel skill set's a lot easier to shift and change than personality by all days. Okay, so tell us a success story of one of your favorite success stories working with a client.
There's a wonderful young man named Carlo.
Okay.
And Carlo built a recruiting company. And he went off on his own and he believed, and he's in his 20s, by the way. Okay. And he left the search firm where he was working and he wasn't sure he could do it. And then he was going to go with someone older who was going to mentor. That guy was afraid to take on this path because he found out that his wife was going to have a baby, and Carlo was getting fearful. And I was like, you're a smart man. Who's going to work harder than you? And he's like, well, no one. And he will put in all the effort. And so he got super clear. I helped him get super clear on what he wanted to do, why he wanted to do it. I got him super clear on his numbers and tracking everything. I got him super clear on creating processes for what he was doing. So now he has all these VAs doing so much of the work. And he built incredibly successful niche recruiting company, GC Recruiting, giving a shout out to Carlo. And it was his effort, and I was privileged just guide him on his path. So you don't need years and years of experience, and you don't need a huge amount of resources either. If you're willing to have the clarity and put in the time and figure out the solutions and keep learning, people can jump to the next level. And he built a really nice business.
Oh, that's fun. Which you brought up a topic in there, which I'm like flirting with a little bit. So I'm going to ask for it on a personal level. Virtual assistants, VAs. Have you seen them be successful in businesses? Have you seen them not successful? What makes them work? What makes them not work? Is there anything that you can give advice away? Yes. Yeah. Truth, probably truth. What advice can you give to somebody that's looking at maybe adding virtual assistants to their business?
The more you're clear on what you're going to have that assistant do, I find that the easier it is to manage them. This is from my experience. When I'm giving them a very set task that could be done over and over again, and you could sort of put them on autopilot and they could get something done in volume for you, I find that works better. So when you can give them something that's sort of science, right? This is the script. This is what you say. Here's the recipe. Here's the ingredients. Put them in this quantity. And here's the result we're going to get. And then we could keep measuring it. That is much easier to duplicate. The more art needs to get involved, the more you got to get a higher level VA. But there's so many great people you can now find on Upwork and Fiverr and various other sources beyond those that you could dive in and find someone who really is a specialist for a special project, whether it be designing something or helping you plan out a project. And then those people just cost more than your low-level VAs. But you can really build a team that's remote. And what does that do? That also allows you to be remote. Again, the goal is to build a business, not to build a job.
Ooh, bomb drop right there. Build a business, not build a job. Right. So Mark has this amazing book, Join the 7-Figure Club, which outlines his processes and systems to help you go from 6 figures to 7 figures. He's available for speaking. He's available for coaching. He works with businesses to help them get to the next level and the employees within the business. Where's the best way that we reach you?
Join the 7figureclub.com.
Okay.
Right? Keep it simple, right?
Yeah, I like
Join the
it.
7figureclub.com. You can connect to me very easily right through there. It's my favorite way to reach out to people. You have a question, you're a struggling entrepreneur, and you want to hit me up with a question. It lights me up to be able to give you an answer. You're a business that's on their way and you want to go to that next level. Let me know where you are, and we'll just chat about how we can get you to that next level. That is, my favorite way. I'm on Instagram at Mark Anthony High Performance, but I really am still old school, where I love to be able to talk to someone or email them. As you said earlier, like, business is built around people. So when I can help someone, I want to have that conversation. I'll find the time for it.
Mark's on this podcast as a guest because I've actually called him and used him as a resource for a lot of my own things and found his advice and strategies invaluable. So I wanted to share with him with you guys today. So thanks for listening in. Make sure you look out for Mark. He'll be here to help.